I don't know why we're just built like that or something, right? Like some of us have that tendency to take it personally.
Hey, it's Walter here, and you're at the Think Profit podcast, where we're going to help you develop a rock-solid trading confidence and avoid the potentially endless cycle of system switching. Right, Hugh?
That's right. We're going to help you develop a wealth mindset, develop a trading strategy that fits your core personality, and help you overcome the obstacles that stop over 90% of traders.
All right, Hugh, sounds good. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do this. Hey, Walter. What do you think of FOMO? How to deal with FOMO? Like you missed a trade. It was a really good trade. It turned out to be a big winner. How do you go forward?
Yeah. And it comes in so many forms, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you could have a situation where you missed on the trade and the trade went just like you thought. And for whatever reason, you weren't around the computer, or you didn't block out that time, or maybe you're on an airplane. That's happened to me before, back when people used to go on airplanes. We're recording this right now when no one's going on any airplanes right now and the airline stocks are tanking. But yeah, so there's that. And there's also the other bit, which is like, I think comes in when as a trader, you get a little bit more advanced where you're like, all right, I had this trade and I was in it, but then I got out too early and oh my God, it's gone another 500 pips. Like there's another FOMO where you start to and that's dangerous too, because that can lead you to tweaking your strategy, which maybe it's a good thing, but a lot of times that's a slippery slope too, to go down that path where you start changing your system because of one sort of, we might even call it an outlier trade that's not very common, right? So yeah, that's tricky. That's definitely a tricky road to go down. So I think you really have to put it in perspective too and say like, why do I feel like I'm missing out? Why is it? Is it because my exit strategy doesn't capture the big moves? Is it because I want to trade more often and I feel like I'm under the gun to up my income from trading so I can quit my job? What's the motivation going on there? Is it because all the headlines, like all the news is saying to buy gold and I didn't buy gold? Like where is it coming from? And I think as traders, I feel like our job is to put the pressure should really be coming from our system rules. And I know that seems kind of weird. Like, what do you mean? It's system rules. But I think most of what we do, we should really strive to point back and say, okay, the reason I did that is because of my system rules. Okay, you can argue whether or not those are correct or not. And you might look at my system rules and go, dude, what are you doing? That's okay with me. Like, that's totally cool with me. As long as I can look at myself in the mirror and say, I did the right thing. I took the right trade. That like I followed the rules. That's really important to me. And remember, I don't know if you remember this, but remember at the London conference we did with Rima. Rima's a great trader, right? I think someone asked him during his presentation about trading big shadows, and they were saying, well, what if like it's almost a big shadow, but it doesn't quite it misses it by a few pips or whatever. He's like, dude, you got to have the line somewhere, and he's like, I won't take it. He was like, that's how firm he was. Like, I'm not going to, if it doesn't fit my characteristics, I'm just not going to take it. So, I think that's actually a really good thing. And I know people kind of rail against that, but I think the problem is if you don't follow it in such a strict manner, you just run the risk of blurring all the lines, and that can lead to problems, especially in the beginning. I mean, with experience comes a little bit of discretion, but I really do think if I had two traders and I knew one of them was really conscientious and he was going to follow his rules, and the other one, like she was a little bit more wild and a little bit crazy, I would bet on the more conscientious trader who's going to let trades go and have that FOMO, even though and miss out, knowing that he's gonna stick to the rules, regardless throughout any sort of market situation. So to me, I think the pressure should come from your rules, I guess.
That's a great point. Yeah. Hey there, I hope you're finding this episode useful. I just wanted to let you know that Walter and I give away something valuable every month that helps traders improve their skills. You can enter to win by simply leaving an iTunes review and leaving a comment on our YouTube videos. At the end of each month, we'll look at the comments and reviews from the month, and we'll pick a winner at random. Each comment and each review counts for one entry during the month that it's submitted. So if you're interested in that, be sure to enter after this podcast is over. All right, back to the episode. At least for myself, I think one of the issues was taking everything personally, like being wrong. And that was a reflection of me somehow. I was wrong on that trade, so that's why I'm beating myself up about it. But I think once you can learn to forgive yourself for that and just kind of move on to the next one, like you said, follow your rules, then I think it becomes much easier, right?
Yeah, and you guys we can all learn a lot from the sports psychology stuff, right? Where like the like think about the greatest batters in baseball history, like 7 out of 10 times they sit down. You know what I mean? Like they, it's only 3 out of 10 that they actually get on base or hit the ball or whatever, right? Like that just doesn't happen. And it's the same thing. Like to use like an NFL, I like to follow NFL. So gridiron, we call it here in Australia, gridiron. The players who get burnt, like the cornerbacks, so they're the defensive players that get burnt, right? And so people are scoring touchdowns on it. They have this thing called a short memory, right? Like, you got to have a short memory, just go back to the next play. The only thing I can control is the next play, and this mentality. And if you can sort of adopt that, maybe read some of those books about sports psychology, you can kind of get that mindset. Like, really, the only thing that matters to me is my next trade. If I screwed up the last trade, if I flubbed up the exit, if I ruined the entry, if I got my risk wrong or whatever, like there was a guy in the forum, he accidentally had a trade size that was 10 times bigger than he wanted. Right. So he fat fingered his trade. Like, it doesn't matter next time. It doesn't matter because it's a new slate. You start over. You just follow your rules again. Like, all that stuff that happened in the past, it really, but the problem is it's so hard, isn't it, as a human to let go of that?
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. And I don't know why we're just built like that or something, right? Like, some of us have that tendency to take it personally.
Yeah, and maybe it's adaptive. Like, maybe when we were in the jungle as hunter-gatherers, we saw grandma eat that green berry and she died. And so we're like, okay, you got to stay away from the green berry, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe that's where it comes from. It's just like we're kind of fluid in our behaviors and adapting, and that's, that might be like an adaptive, trait in most life, but obviously not in trading. Obviously not in trading. It's really hard to make trading work if you're continually changing. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, short memory. Remember that.
Exactly.
Guys. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Walter.
Yeah. Thanks.
All information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not trading or investment advice.